You and I are back tonight for a full MLB preview. We're tackling the American League tonight here in part one. I took care of the Yankees 2025 season preview yesterday. It's officially baseball season in just over 24 hours, dude. How we doing?
I'm doing well, man. After that St. John's loss, I could use some spring ahead and some baseball and something to look forward to. You did your Yankees podcast yesterday and gave me a little more hope than negative, to be honest with you. Obviously, the top end of the talent that we lost sucks. It blows, but I honestly don't really mind where they're at completely. You know what? Why don't we jump in? We'll start off with the AL East.
I think there's no better place to start if we're starting in the AL. I mean, listen, if anything, we're consistent. So, Tom, give me 5 through 1, your American League East order.
All right, so 5 through 1 you're asking me for here. I have Toronto in the basement. I have Tampa Bay finishing 4th. I have Baltimore finishing 3rd. Close, but finishing 3rd. Second place, the New York Yankees. And number 1 is the Boston Red Sox.
God damn it, we're starting off chalk. I did not want to make this pick, and I was hoping that you didn't go this way either. So, let's start at the top with the Red Sox. Why do you have them winning the division?
I really like the addition of Crochet. I know they had to give up a ton of prospects to go out and get him, but one, if he can stay healthy, he's a Cy Young guy. His stuff is electric. I think the Walker Buehler move is a low-key really good move. Chapman as well on the back end of the bullpen. Obviously, they went in and they got Bregman. And my thing there, linchpin for me, is Trevor Story. Like, can he go back to Colorado? Trevor Story, can he maybe play as many games as he did in Colorado and actually stay healthy? Because that's the bugaboo for him. But for me, I just think this offense got a lot better. They got 3 really young prospects that they're going to probably bring up throughout the season. At least the second baseman, what's his name? Carter, I believe.
You're talking about Christian Campbell, who did officially he broke camp with the team, and all spring training long they were hoping he was going to grab the second base job, and he did. He's another reason why I have them first. You also have Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer, who they're super high on as well.
Absolutely, and I just think that they're going to be able to rake, and I think that they have enough pitching to be the best team in this division.
Yeah, the starting staff is beginning the season kind of in the same spot as the Yankees starting staff in terms of injuries are concerned. But you got Crochet, you've got Buehler, you've got Cutter Crawford. Brian Bayo is starting the season on the IL. They obviously love him, but I think the offense is going to be the reason why this team does what it does, because you just look up and down the order. You got Duran, you got Bregman, Devers, you got Tristan Casas, you've got Connor Wong, and then you got Ceddanine Rafaela, who had a really good end to the year last year. He was doing well in spring training. Wilyer Abreu, who's starting the season on the IL. They basically made Yoshida expendable. But you know what I really like about this team, Tom, I got to tell you, is like, I think the versatility that they have offensively, and I think their defense is just going to be elite. And when you look at certain teams, you know, you question the defense. I think the Red Sox defense, we saw it last year, it was really good. I think it's going to be that way again. And they have depth in the rotation. Some of those guys are coming back. And when they come back, they go about 7 or 8 deep in that starting rotation. And, you know, a couple of those guys, you know, Garrett Whitlock are going to probably be in the bullpen. You've obviously got Tanner Houck as well. I mean, this team, I think, has built itself into the favorite in the American League, not just from us, but from a lot of different sources.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. And I just think this team, they've got a deep lineup. Like they can break, and like you said, they are going to be analytically one of the best teams in baseball defensively. I think the Devers moving to first base has been put to bed. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
The Devers thing is weird because you got Tristan Casas there, who's really good. And so I think Devers was going to go to
He's going to play a lot of DH.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if you're looking at defense, I mean, Casas isn't a Gold Glover, but he's not a butcher. I mean, Devers should be the everyday DH, and you intertwine him with Story. I mean, Story, I don't know how much he's even going to play, to be honest with you. But if those guys both DH, you just don't want to take at bats away from Devers. And I understand what he's upset about when the Red Sox brought Bregman in, and he was all butthurt about it, and I get that, but like, dude, you already got paid. You're not playing for a contract. Do what's best for the team. You didn't just go get a random third baseman. You got a platinum glove winning third baseman over there. The best version of the Red Sox is with Campbell at second. It's with Marcelo Meyer, or not Marcelo Meyer, I'm sorry, Rafaela at short, and with Bregman at third. It's very cut and dry, easy for me. And if Trevor Story can't cut it or have a really good year and grab at bats away, I mean, that money's already spent. I think it's kind of a sunken cost at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Devers is going to be their DH. I mean, you can't keep that bat out of the lineup. Let's move on to number 2.
Well, I was just gonna say this too. Lucas Giolito is due back this year. He hurt his hamstring in spring. That's another depth starter. Now, I do have questions about Chapman, and you have Liam Hendricks in the bullpen as well. Greg Weissert, their relievers, actually pitched pretty well down the stretch of the season, Tom. I mean, is Chapman on a short leash for you, in your opinion, where if he blows a couple saves early, they move him out of that role? Or do you think that they're committed to him, at least for the first half of the year, like they were with Jansen last year?
First half, they'll be committed to him.
Yeah.
First half, I think they'll be committed to him. I think it's just the body of work and whatnot. And he performed well towards the end of the season last year. So.
And he's been good in the first half. I mean, he got traded from the Royals to the Rangers based off a really good first half. The Pirates first half last year. So you're right. Like, he's a guy who's actually pitched pretty well. I mean, we know as Yankee fans he's susceptible to those meltdowns, but he's throwing gas in spring training, so the arm's fine.
Yeah, no, and that's all that you really want to make sure of is that, because you're going to have those innings with him where you just want to pull your hair out and he loads the bases and then somehow strikes out the side. But the thing you pay attention to with him is his location, but most importantly, his velo. And if that's there, he's going to be an effective pitcher.
No doubt about it. I gave my state of the Yankees, so talk to me why you have them second in the division in your preview.
I'm taking the Red Sox over, obviously, at 86.5. I'm taking the Yankees slight under at like 87, 86 wins. For me, it was just looking up and down this division and basically the rest of the league. I just think that there's a lot more talent in the NL, to be honest with you, looking up and down these rosters. On top of that, I just think that there's a lot of guys on this team that have a ton of talent. And do I think we're a World Series contender or anything that we thought we were when Cole and Stanton were healthy, because maybe the Yankees would have gone out and made that final move at third base? No, I don't think they're a World Series team, but I still think this team with this excellent top probably 2-3 bullpen in baseball, if not number one, top half of the starting rotation is good. The lineup is solid. It's just a matter of the guys, like your Dominguez's, your Stromans, the guys that are either coming up and they're young, or just your ancillary pieces that need to perform well in order for this team not to really fall out of the playoff race here.
Yeah, for sure. For people that didn't listen to me, I had the Yankees finishing second. I have them just slightly under their FanDuel win total. For me, the X factors I listed off were obviously Dominguez, were Rodon, were Stroman, were Wells, and Volpe, and I think all of those guys, there's a lot of question marks with this team, and that's why I have them second. I think there's less question marks about Boston than there is about New York.
I think the variance on this team with the loss of those two guys is super, super high to low. Like, they could win this division still, and they could win 90-plus games. Or if you told me that they won 82 or even 80, I wouldn't be shocked by that either. That just tells me that Stroman was terrible. Volpe didn't take a step forward. Goldschmidt went back to what he was at the beginning of the year. And then, I don't know, I could go up and down the roster of the guys that didn't perform that we needed to, but that's basically what that means.
Yeah, and it's like all those X factors just didn't perform, right? That's literally what it would be. Or there was another catastrophic injury because...
Unfortunately, on the Yankees this year, you can't pencil in too many guarantees like you could in a few years past.
No, you can't. I mean, Bellinger had an amazing spring, wrapped up spring training today with a home run. Like, I think he's going to have a really good year. I'm excited about a full year of Jazz. I do think Wells is gonna be a really good player, but I'd like him more in the middle of the order than a leadoff hitter. I understand that's why they're doing it to start the season, but the rotation is paper thin. And if Warren doesn't come out of the gate pitching well, and Carrasco, doesn't follow up what he did in spring training, I mean, they really don't have any more depth as far as what they can go to. And the league knows that, and there's hardly ever pitchers moved early in the season. So the Yankees are skidding on thin ice, man. I mean, they're going to really have to rely on these guys to at least keep them afloat. And then at the deadline, we can see where they are. But the other thing, if you are talking yourself into the Yankees, is that the league is not very good, and the division is not all that strong. So I think when you're looking at ranking these teams, like there was a time when I first started doing these previews where I was like, I ranked the Orioles second once upon a time. But then I was like, am I looking at the Orioles rotation and their bullpen thinking that anything's better than the Yankees? Because after Boston, Boston's defense, and I think their lineup's going to be really good all year, and it's long and versatile, especially when they start calling up the young guys. The Yankees don't have a lineup like that, but the Yankee bullpen is better than any other unit that these other teams have, other than maybe Tampa's bullpen.
Yeah, 1,000%, and it's one of those things. I hate going into a season where there's no definitives really. Outside of if Judge stays healthy, he's going to contend for an MVP again.
Right, and that's why it's so important that Bellinger gets off to a good start.
And probably Fried is going to be a top 10 pitcher in baseball. That'll probably or in the AL. At least.
Fried's going to be really good. It's just crazy that Stroman a month ago we're talking about where does he get traded to? How much money are the Yankees going to have to eat to? Hey, by the way, come on down. It's the Yankees' number 3 starter. Pretty nuts.
Yeah. No, you go from being a trade piece to skipping 2 spots in the rotation. That's how decimated the New York Yankees are. But and the other sad part is it's like Stanton and Cole are not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah,
so there's really no hope out of that.
Yeah, and Heel isn't coming back till probably late June, early July. So basically the whole first half.
That's one of those injuries where it could be like he tries to ramp himself up, and then it's just you don't see him till next year either. I'm not optimistic about it.
Yeah, the lat strains are tough. Usually guys do come back, but the concern is if he's not built up properly. I think that's why late June, early July is the proper timeline, because it's a 6 to 8 week from the time that he was hurt to where he's touching a baseball again. So that would tell you, maybe he could come back in May, but the Yankees are not going to rush him back. And I don't think this has anything to do with him blowing past his innings limits last year. I think this is just a case of, we saw Frankie Montas have it in Mets camp. This injury pops up more than it should. Clark Schmidt had it last year. It shut him down for 2.5 months.
Yeah, it's just another one of those things with I think how these athletes train nowadays, where these muscle groups and whatnot, you're just putting so much stress on them and isolating them. All right, moving on to my number 3. Like you said, we are chalky here. Baltimore Orioles. I took their under at 86.5, slight under. I mean, this team for me, when I started doing my rankings and whatnot, this was just coming off the Cole and coming off Stanton, and it was like I penciled Baltimore into 2, and then you really take this team under a microscope, and you're like, God damn, this team is just as banged up, if not more banged up than the Yankees. Not to mention, I think they are the number 2 loser of the offseason behind Seattle. They did absolutely nothing to make their team better, and they lost Corbin Burns. They have Gunnar Henderson, Grayson Rodriguez, and Kitteridge on the DL to start the year. Not ideal.
It's not ideal at all. You also have Adley Rutschman, who was god-awful in the second half last year, needs to come back. Jackson Holliday really struggled when he came up to the major leagues last year. Now, obviously, he's the top prospect in baseball, or was once upon a time for a reason. You still got Mountcastle. You still got Jordan Westberg. You've still got Ryan O'Hearn, Colton Cowser, Kerstad, Cedric Mullins. They did bring in Tyler O'Neill. But, yeah, man, I don't like this pitching staff at all. And the reason that I had them second for a little bit there was because I think this offense is just going to score a fuck ton of runs, but their pitching is terrible. Now, the one thing that they do get back, you mentioned the absence of Burns and Grayson Rodriguez starting on the IL. They brought in Charlie Morton, who at this time of his career is not great, but they are getting their top closer, Felix Bautista, back this year after Tommy John last year. And remember how good he was 2 years ago. They also brought back Kyle.
But again, I looked at that, and it's like that's a work back thing. He might not be ready. He might not be ramped up until June.
Yeah, it might take him a little bit to figure it back out again, right?
That's
yeah,
what I mean.
And they did bring back Kyle Gibson this past week just for depth in that rotation because they desperately need it. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't see anything promising. The only way that you could talk yourself into the Orioles, in my opinion, is in the regular season. We do see teams just slug their way to regular season wins, and there's a world that exists that once Henderson comes back, and if all these young guys continue to take those next steps and have, if Rutschman returns to form and Holiday, hits his stride like he's been projected to, and Kerstad and Kauser, like this team is capable of scoring a fuck ton of runs.
They are. It's just a matter of if they're going to be losing games 10-9.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that if you're an Oriole fan, you're fucking pissed because this team got sold to a new ownership group. The first thing they did was go out and trade for Corbin Burns. They didn't keep him. I don't think he wanted to be there anyway. I think he wanted to go back to the West Coast, which is why he took less money to go to the Diamondbacks. But you lose an ace, and you don't replace him with anybody, and the guy who's supposed to be your next ace in Rodriguez is hurt, and he didn't have a great finish to last year either. It was kind of underwhelming after the awesome 2023 that he had. So you look at this, it's like our main acquisitions are Tyler O'Neill, Charlie Morton, and fucking Kyle Gibson. Like, really? Like, that's poverty Orioles. It's not what they're supposed to be anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
And Kobe Mayo is starting. And Kobe Mayo is starting in the minor leagues, and he was vocal about being pissed that he wasn't being called up. That's another guy that we're going to look for this year. He's another top guy that they're going to call up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's move on to Tampa Bay. Over under is 80.5. I took the over. For me, I mean, obviously we love their pitching. McClanahan is starting. Probably they haven't put him on it yet, but he's got like tricep tightness, which he said was a relief because he could have gotten Tommy John.
Again.
But luckily it is just, apparently it's just tricep tightness. But I think they're going to treat him with kid gloves and send him over to the IL at least the 10-day to start is what I've been reading. So aside from that, I still do like their pitching staff with Rausman and a few other guys. But their lineup, the middle of it with Diaz. And the third baseman, how do you pronounce his name?
Candelario.
Candelario. I think they're going to go off, but aside from that, I just don't see a lot in their offense to be able to sustain anything.
Yeah, their lineup I actually think could be sneaky. There's not any household names, so I understand why we're not putting them, higher. Traditionally, this has been a team that, scores runs from a couple of different spots in the lineup, and it's not a well-rounded lineup. I do think there's some guys that could pop for them. Their pitching staff should be very good. You mentioned Rasmussen coming back. And McClanahan, hopefully, after this 10-day IL stint for them, he comes back and returns to Cy Young form. Their bullpen's fucking filthy, though. So if they have leads late in games, the game's probably over, and that's how they're going to win a lot of their games. And keep in mind, too, very interesting wrinkle for them. They're playing all their home games at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa this year after what happened to the Trop. So a very interesting development there. But I think they're going to probably be in that 82 to 84 win range, I would say.
You think that they did that to the Trop on purpose so they didn't have to pay for the upkeep for another year and they'd rather just pay the Yankees way less in rent? Conspiracy theory here. Tom's on one. Possibly. I guarantee you it's less to rent that little ass stadium from the Yankees than it is to maintain a full MLB ballpark.
Well, the roof blew off, so that was
true. I guess yeah. They can't control the wind.
Yeah, the roof blew off, and there's no way it was going to get fixed in time for the season. So I love the conspiracy thoughts.
Well, also, what's the point? Aren't they building a new stadium?
No, it got turned down in recent developments. So they're at least in St. Pete, it's not going to be built. So it's back to the drawing board.
Hot take for me, dude. Hot take for me. Every year the stat comes out that the Rays have the worst attendance, but they have the absolute best viewership because every single person down there is a transplant big baseball Yankees fan, and they're all old. So all they do is pop on their couch right after their Blue Plate special dinner and watch the Rays every single night. I got an idea. Let's save a lot of money, Tampa. Let's just do something revolutionary. Play baseball in a TGL style studio.
Dude, honestly,
just make it the coolest experience ever. And your old ass, I mean, you're getting the TV revenue.
Listen, you know what? It's not even just Yankee fans. There's a shit ton of Rays fans. They just don't go to games.
Oh, yeah. 100%. The Rays are actually a pretty popular franchise, and I think a lot of those people are old Yankee fans, and that's kind of bullshit. But whatever.
I'll tell you one thing: Tom's going after the senior citizens on this podcast, and it's something else. We got conspiracies and anti-old in one segment.
I'm not anti-old. I don't want to get caught with any of that, but I think you can make fun of old people because you can make fun of something that you're going to be at some point. You can't make fun of something you're not, in my opinion.
Oh, that's fair.
All right. Final team, Toronto in the basement,
Yep.
79.5. I'm slamming the under. Vlad's in a contract year. Maybe he gets traded at the deadline. Half of their bullpen is on the IL. They got two young guys, Rodon and Barger, that you can keep your eye on coming up. Springer forgot how to swing. This team is just a bunch of not even spare parts, just parts that make up a team, and I think that they're in the tank this year.
Yeah, you want to talk about missing a window. I mean, that's what this team did, because from 2021 to 2023, it should have been...
they never even came close,
No.
though. That's the thing.
No, they didn't.
Would you even call it a window, or was it just a semblance of talent?
Well, no, that was the window that they were supposed to have. They did win one division during that span.
I guess San Diego had a window, too.
Right. Well, the reason that was a window was because the other teams were down. Like, Boston was down. The Yankees were coming off a bad year in 2021. Like, it was there, and that was when the young talent that was coming into their own was popping, and that was also when they were making all of those free agent moves and trades. But you look at Guerrero, if they don't sign him, like, that's one of the most biggest derelictions of duties I've ever seen. Like, give him whatever the fuck he wants. Like, he's your own guy. He's a native Canadian. He grew up there. Like, don't lose him to somebody else. If he wants $550 million.
Vlad Jr. grew up in Canada?
Yeah, because remember, Vlad Sr. was...
Well, Vlad Sr. was on Toronto.
No, he was on...
I guess he just never left. Montreal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he's a Canadian citizen. Like, that's where he should be. And here's the thing with the Blue Jays. You've come as a fucking bridesmaid to every single time, we're in on Shohei. He was never going to go there. We were in on Soto. He was never going to go there. Like, they're mentioned when all of these mega free agents become available, and they're never actually heavily considered. This is a guy who's been playing for you. You drafted him. You developed him. You've seen him turn into an all-star. And you're going to watch him go down the East Coast and sign with the Mets? Like, come on, man. Like, get that done. I do think that, obviously, Bichette there's kind of like there's a weird situation there. I don't know if they want to keep him and sign him long-term, or if they're going to let him walk and trade him. You mentioned it, though, dude. Like, they're probably going to hit an inflection point at the trade deadline where if they're out of it, you have to reassess what your long-term future is. And I know you'd love to keep some of these guys, but fans are over it at this point, I think, up there, because they were promised this bill of goods with this young crop of talent. And some of these free agents, you mentioned that, Springer, he's not what he once was. You didn't re-sign Semien.
They got Ryu, they got Gosman.
Yes.
Gosman's actually been good.
Well, not last year. He was fucking terrible last year.
The year before.
Yeah, and they had the Robbie Ray experience, so it's like... And the Barrios thing hasn't worked out. He's like an every other year guy.
Another one.
Yeah, so like...
Has any of their moves... we just named all the moves. Has any of their moves worked out? And I don't think a single one I was like, oh, that was a good
None
call.
of them at the same time. I think that was the biggest thing. And they've dealt with injuries too, but it was like, hey, Barrios had a really good year. Wasn't that a great trade? It was like, yeah, but you gave him a 5-year extension and 2 of those years haven't been good. It's like, yeah, you went and got Kevin Gosman. The first year with him was fucking awesome. Last year was really bad. You got 3 more years after this. Like, Robbie Ray was hurt for them, even though after he won a Cy Young with them. So it's just like, they haven't been able to figure it the fuck out. And this young core position players like Biggio never turned into anything. He's on the Royals now. Like, I don't know. They have to figure it the fuck out, and I don't think they will. They're by far, in both of our opinions, the worst team in this division, which is not a great division.
No, and it's not a great, like, you look around, it's really not a great league either.
No.
Like, I would not be shocked, if not a single team out of the AL hits 90 wins.
Yeah, I think that The Central, there's some gettable wins there. I definitely think in the East, you could say that every team could go in between 84 and 90 wins.
Yeah, and I agree with you. There's definitely gettable teams in the Central, but I just don't think that there's, like, we're going to talk about it right now, segueing into that, but I just don't think that there's a team that's good enough to rip off those, that 95 to 100 win season. All right, rattle off your AL Central however you want, 5-1.
All right. Obviously, for me, I think that the White Sox are the worst team in baseball. So there's that.
You're going out on the fucking limb there.
So you got them. I'm very interested in the Guardians this year. I'm very torn on them. I'll put it that way. I don't like the Twins, so I would actually probably put the Twins fourth, and I would put the Guardians third. I like the Tigers a lot, but I like the Royals even more. So I have the Royals winning the division.
Okay. So far, we are both in agreement with the White Sox and the Twins. I got them fourth. I've got the Tigers third. Mm-hmm. I've got KC second. And I looked up and down Cleveland's roster, and I wanted to come up with a reason as to why I didn't think they'd be the best team. And I just kept staring at that bullpen and the lineup, and I liked it the best.
Now, can I try to convince you in a different way?
Sure.
You know how many innings?
If you have to.
How many innings? And I was taking the Guardians in all those years where Will was going out on his hot takes with the Tigers. He was 2 years early, and this, that. Are we taking the Twins? Those Guardians relievers pitched so many fucking innings last year and absolutely fell apart down the stretch last year. And they didn't add much, and as a matter of fact, they lost guys. Like, they lost Josh Naylor. For however you feel about him, that's a 30-home run guy. And they didn't replace him with anybody. Like, this lineup, like, are we still thinking that Carlos Santana's going to have a good year? Like, Lane Thomas is fine. Will Brennan, Tyler Freeman. I love Stephen Kwan, but you brought back Shane Bieber. He hasn't been much over the last couple of years. He's been hurt and ineffective. Tristan McKenzie hasn't been anything in about 3 years. And you look at Gaddis, Allen, Lively, Smith. Those guys pitched a fuck ton of innings last year. Like, you don't usually see relievers after throwing and blowing past any innings that they've ever thrown before in their lives come back the next year. And on a team that's built by their bullpen, I mean, I never like to discount how they end up with pitching, but I just don't see it for them this year. That was my trying to convince you, but I'll let you.
Yeah, usually you get me, but I'm sticking with Terry on this one.
Well, Terry's not there anymore. Terry is managing the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, Cincinnati, yes. I saw him in red, and I was like, he's still there. And then I just saw an interview with him in Cincinnati.
No, Stephen Vogt.
I don't care.
Stephen Vogt's still the manager.
Yes. Honestly, they kind of look alike. Just the belly.
Now, can I say that maybe I convinced you since you forgot the manager? Okay.
No, I'm sticking with Cleveland. I mean, for me, it's like it's a regular season thing. Like, can their bullpen fall apart? 1,000%, and they probably will. And I'll probably bet on them later in the season. But I just think that they're going to be able to sustain it further. I'm taking the over at 82.5. This division was very low when it came to that. We both have KC at 2. So why don't we talk about them? I've got their over at 82.5 as well.
Not so fast, my friend. I have KC at 1. I have Detroit at 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. So why don't we just talk about KC since I have them at 2?
It's okay. Go for it.
They've got the best player in the division, obviously. Probably a top 5 player in baseball, and Bobby Witt. I think he finished second to MVP to Aaron Judge last year. This team right now. I'm the way I'm looking at it at this roster. It's just a top half team. The bottom half is very up in the air. We need to see how they're going to perform. But the top half of the rotation with Lugo and Reagans, and then the top half of their lineup with India, Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, and I guess old Sal Perez as well. That's formidable. It's just a matter of what the bottom does. Like, I'm thinking about your Marcelo Mayers and guys along those lines.
Yeah, Michael Garcia.
Not Marcelo Mayer, Martinez.
Yeah, and you got Michael Garcia last year, who obviously had that run-in with the Yankees on the base paths. Michael Massey actually was pretty good last year, as was Kyle Isbell from the left side. So those guys kind of emerged out of nowhere. I definitely am not penciling them in as guys who are going to be absolute contributors, but they were good last year, so I can give them the benefit of the doubt. They basically didn't have Pasquantino last year for like a large chunk of the season.
He's hurt starting the year, of course.
Yeah, he always is.
it's not a major injury, so that's
I
cool.
like the rotation. I really do. I like that you can go Reagans, Lugo, Lorenzen, Waka, Kyle Wright, and the back end of the bullpen. Remember, they got Lucas Urkeg from the A's last year at the deadline, and he really fortified that. And we saw in the bullpen last year against the Yankees in that first-round series, Tom, fucking Angel Zerpa was throwing gas from the left side. And you got Hunter Harvey, who's a nice reliever. But when you look at the years Lugo and Waka had last year, those are really good years. And Lorenzen's a solid starter. And I guess they like their pitching well enough to trade Brady Singer to Cincinnati for Jonathan India so that they can get a little more pop out of the second base position. I don't love any team in the Central to like have a super high ceiling. I don't think any of these teams are World Series teams. I did have a coin flip between the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers, but I saw the Royals towards the end last year. That was a team not a lot of people wanted to play. Same there with the Tigers. But I do like the Royals, and I love their manager. So I think that this team is one that could definitely win this division.
I agree with you. I think that they're going to be right there in the division. I just got the Indians over them. Speaking of the Tigers, I have them finishing third. I took a slight over on their 83.5 wins. You could go over under right there. This team I just can't figure out. Listen, they have a sleeper rotation, in my opinion, with Skubal and Flaherty.
Flaherty?
I like... Isn't it on this team?
Oh,
Flaherty. Isn't that how you say his name?
No, it's Jack Flaherty.
Is it Flaherty? Goddamn. I've been saying Flaherty for so long, then I heard somebody say Flaherty, and I was like, shit, I guess I've been saying it wrong all
Check
these
your
times.
sources.
I guess they fucked me
Check
up.
your sources.
Fuck. Well, Flaherty. That makes life a lot easier that his name's fucking Flaherty. Shit. And then I'm just going to say it here to start it off. Job is going to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
So I do like their rotation, just the back end of it. I don't mind the Glaber signing. I feel like when he's out of the New York spotlight, he's going to produce pretty well. And then obviously they have Riley Green. I just didn't think that they had enough at the top end to be better than my first two teams, even though they did make that run in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they were playing so well down the stretch. Remember, they had like a 0.8% chance of making the playoffs on like August 14th.
Unbelievably high.
Yeah, I mean, they thought that they were out of it so much that they traded Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers only to re-sign him in free agency. Flaherty. There's not even a T in there. But Spencer Torkelson is a guy that obviously has so much promise, and they got more from him in the second half last year, their first base prospect, as did Riley Green. If those guys hit their potential, those two guys are super scary. They were both first-round picks. I like the Glaber addition for them. I was actually really hoping on their sake that they would sign Bregman to really have another proven vet and another really good player to anchor this young team. I think Torres proved last year in the second half with the Yankees and in the playoffs that he's still a really good player. It was time for the Yankees to let him go. That ship had sailed. But I like that addition for him as a nice, solid player. Hopefully you don't have to get much out of the Javi Baez experience anymore. I think he drives A.J. Hinch absolutely nuts. But you look at Trey Sweeney, who they got in that Jack Flaherty trade from the Dodgers. He contributed this team down the stretch in the pennant race and in that series against Houston. Matt Vierling, even though he's starting the season on the IL, he was really good last year. I love Colt Keith, and he had a phenomenal end to last year. I could basically say that about everybody. Kerry Carpenter. Unfortunately, Parker Meadows is starting the season on the IL. Him and Vierling were big-time contributors. But you have the best pitcher in the American League now with Tariq Skubal, and you got Jack Flaherty and Jackson Jobe. Welcome to the party, Tom. You and I both have him bearing the lead here as our AL Rookie of the Year. You got Casey Mize, who's absolutely looking like the guy he was always supposed to be. And then you got a back.
Man. I don't know how many times I can play this game.
Well,
it's
not
Mize,
Matt Boyd anymore, thank God. But remember, look at the back end of this bullpen. You got Will Vest, you've got Jason Foley, and Bo Brisky. Those guys are fucking like just dial each one up after the other, and they're shutting the game down. Oh, and by the way, Tommy Tight Pants is now in Detroit, and that was a really nice signing to add to their bullpen. I really like this Tigers team. Like I said, it was a flip of the coin for me between them and the Royals. The Royals, I just look at them, and I think they're 1 year ahead of the Tigers, and I don't know if what happened down the stretch last year was just a fever pitch or a flash in the pan, or if that's actually what they're actually supposed to be this year, but I'm intrigued by both of those teams. I think they both have higher ceilings than the Guardians and the Twins.
Oh, well, yeah, listen, you can shit on my Guardians all you want. I'm not making a Will Smith prediction.
And I usually don't. I think I picked
but...
the Guardians like the last 3 years.
I know.
But I don't see it this year.
Well, listen, I think I picked the White Sox like 2 or 3 years in a row.
Bro, you and everybody else, like you want to talk about the Blue Jays, pissing away a chance. Like everybody was on the White Sox from like 2020 to 2023.
Yeah, between them and the Twins, I'm taking both of their unders. We got to talk about the White Sox under when we get there. It's pretty crazy. I had to refresh the page 30 times just to make sure it was real. I'm taking the Twins at under 84.5. Lopez. I like their top 3 pitchers of Lopez, Ober, and Ryan. Yeah. And then obviously they have Duran in the back end of the bullpen. But honestly, aside from that, they don't have shit. Like, I hate their lineup. Mm-hmm. I don't like the back end of their starters. I don't like the middle of their bullpen. I just like the closer. I just don't think this team has enough talent. And don't talk to me about Correa. Like, they say he's healthy. Cool. I'm healthy too, but I'm not going to play well.
I still think
I'm actually not healthy.
I think Correa is a trade piece for them. If they get off to a bad start or if they're struggling there. I mean, this is a division that they're going to talk themselves into having a chance to win. Because again, we're talking about the Tigers and the Royals. We're not talking about the top of the National League East here. But I just don't see a lot there that I like. Just point blank, period. So exactly. I'm not even going to dwell on them. Like, I maybe you could trade Correa if he gets off to an awesome start, and somebody else would take him. He's not even under a long contract because of what they ended up getting him for. So he's still a very good player, but he's in obscurity in Minnesota, and there's not much else this team has.
Yeah, and also he was a high-end, great shortstop for a few years, and he's petered off. Obviously, injuries have had a lot to do with that, but I think his bat speed's down, and he's been out of the zone a lot. I don't know if that's more of like he hasn't been able to get into a rhythm because he's always been hurt, but he's been a disappointing signing.
Yeah, I think that they were really happy when they got him, and he's had flashes of being great, but it's not consistent, like you said, and that was why the Mets backed out of that deal because his injury just doesn't lend itself to long-term success. And I think somebody would talk themselves into him being a third baseman at some point too, take some of that pressure off of him playing shortstop. But we'll have to see what happens with him and with them. But yeah, their ceiling is not very high.
No, but it is much higher than the Chicago White Sox. Sean, I saw this over-under, and I was like, am I on the NBA page for futures here? 54.5 wins. And let me tell you, I'm taking the under. If you're going to put it that low, there's a reason for it, and I'm slamming the under. I don't care. Kyle Teal is their top 30 prospect. I guess he's the one guy to watch. Luis Robert, I feel like he's the only semblance of talent from those days where we had hope, and I was picking them to go far in the playoffs. Maybe he's a trade piece. And then fantasy baseball, some streaming starters, Jonathan Cannon and Shane Smith, young guys coming up, could be something. Outside of that, this may be the worst team of all time.
There's going to be like 3 teams in the major leagues this year that are going to lose 110 games, and this is going to be one of them. They are so fucking bad. I mean, they have nothing, dude. I mean, they're so bad that Joey Gallo, who couldn't get a hit in spring training, said, "I'm going to go pitch instead." Like, this team has nothing. Did you see that story, by the way?
Of course, yeah. I mean, he's got a cannon
for sure. So. That's about the only thing relevant with the White Sox at this point. Like, They're so fucking bad. Yeah, maybe you could trade Robert for something. I still think that he has value.
I feel like it went downhill pretty quick. I mean, not to say that they were good, but just based off of like the talent, they were never good.
No, but nobody saw that coming, and it was just like everything cratered at one point. Like it was just like, oh, here's Tim Anderson. Oh, Tim Anderson now sucks. Oh, here's two guys that we banked our entire future on. Oh, they never play. Like Eloy Jimenez was DFA'd last year. Like he was the headliner in that Jose Quintana trade to the Cubs in like 2016. Like he just never turned into anything. Injury's a big reason why, but like, you know, you've got Vaughn, you got a couple. I mean, they're just an awful, awful team. They got to hope that the guys they got back for Crochet, you know, from the Red Sox all turn out to be studs, because that's the only chance that they have.
Well, the last time they made that big deal with the Red Sox, did any of the players turn out to be good? I mean, you had the third baseman.
Yeah, Moncada.
I'm trying to think of his name, though. I mean, he just couldn't stay on the field. I don't know. I can't remember any of the other guys. I guess Giolito.
Yeah, Giolito. He had his best time for them in like 19 and 20. And
ups and downs.
Yeah, and now he's back with the Red Sox. And yeah, Moncada never turned out to be what he was supposed to be. It was a shit show there. And it's just going to be even worse this year.
That's what you get for it being like modern day and hiring Tony La Russa as your manager.
Seriously, like everything they did was wrong. Everything. There's not one thing they did that was right, and that's how you get now a historically bad team.
100%. It truly blew my mind when I saw 54.5. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and you know what? There's other teams in that area too.
I know. We are in an epidemic, I guess, of teams being too cheap. We need to start looking at things. This is because of Bud fucking Selig.
Yeah.
100 years ago.
100 years ago, and we're still dealing with it, and there's still teams that have no interest in spending any money. And there's teams that just can't. And there's teams that also, like, they don't do any of the other things.
And if you can't, Sean, then fucking sell the team. I feel like if you can't meet this floor, you have to sell
I'm with
team.
you.
Enjoy your millions.
I'm with you.
Hundreds of millions.
But, you know, I mean, it's always been a cheap-ass organization there. So if you're not going to develop and you're not going to make shrewd moves...
Does the Bulls owner still own them?
Yeah, of course.
Loria?
Yeah.
Well, no shit. Yeah, no surprise.
It's so bad. All right, let's move to the West.
Okay, I'll give you my 5-1. 5, I've got the... I don't know, Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim Angels, whatever they are. I've got the Oakland... at 4, wherever they're
Sacramento,
playing. Don't get
baby.
mad at me for not knowing where they play.
Sacramento, baby. The Sacramento A's.
Sacramento. Go Kings. Seattle at 3, Houston at 2, and I have the Texas Rangers at 1.
You and I will go chalk again here to wrap up. Come on. It was easy. I mean, let's just start here. The Angels are fucking horrible. They have no idea what they're doing.
We don't have much to say.
I don't have much to say. Yeah. I'm just still sad that now Mike Trout's going to play right field to hopefully, limit his injury risk. But
I've gone through the whatever stages of guilt with Mike Trout, because he was my favorite player for a long time, and I was pounding the table that he was the GOAT and all that stuff.
For a while he was.
I've come to the grips where now it's like, yo, listen. You could have gotten that bag from any team. And if you like Anaheim, cool. You want to stay there, cool. You're never like Ohtani took everything as the face of the league, and you just have to go over there and lose for the rest of your career and dwindle away in nothingness because you took the money from the Angels. Meanwhile, any team in the world would have given you that. So enjoy your time there. I have not much else to say except I am slamming the under of 72.5.
Yeah, I mean they're a fucking mess, man. I mean there's no other two ways about it. It is a shame, but Trout seems to be one of those guys where he's just happy where he is, and I can't blame him for it.
He had Tiger Woods build him a golf course. That's pretty cool.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know that.
I guess I'm not going to be getting any invites for after that clip. All right, number 4, we went chalk again, so that makes things pretty simple. Oakland, I'm going to take their over 71.5, and this is out of respect for them spending money. I know that their owner is an absolute piece of shit, but they broke records this year, their records. Nothing to be crazy about, but they did give Luis Severino the highest contract in the history of their franchise. I love Rooker. Obviously, they locked him up to a deal after that huge season, and then Bedley is electric as well. Outside of that, I don't know, Sean, you got any other players you want to mention?
I love Lawrence Butler. He's going to be awesome. And he was really good last year, too. Speed demon from the left side with a lot of pop, too. Needs to cut down on the strikeouts. Seth Brown is a solid player. Shea Langoliers as a catcher. I mean, he's always been a good defensive catcher. He's had times where he's hit very well. He's had times where he's had strikeout issues. But he was the main piece in the trade that they made with the Braves. So to get Langoliers, I think, back on track and hopefully restore some of the promise they had with him would be huge. But you bring in Miguel Andujar, you bring in Gio Urshela, Zach Geloff is a nice player. Like, they have pieces that I actually like. And you mentioned Rooker. Locked him up long-term. Signed Severino. You got former Yankee J.P. Sears, former Yankee Ken Waldichuk. And by the way, you have Mason Miller, arguably the best closer in baseball. It's a short list with, obviously, Devin Williams, Manuel Clase, and Miller. And they also brought in Jose Leclerc, who just fell off the planet after that 2023 World Series with Texas. I like him. And by the way, a very underrated move that they made this offseason as well. They got Jeffrey Springs from the Rays, a lefty with so much promise that the Rays, obviously they got something for him that they thought was fair value. But this is a guy that's been a top prospect for a long time, and we know how good the Rays pitching is. So I think to get Jeffrey Springs is an opportunity to put him in that rotation with some other young guys anchored by Sevy. Like, there's pieces on this team I like. They're still going to be bad, but they're not going to be a disaster while they play out in Sacramento for a few years.
Yeah, they'll be fun, and I guess that's all you can hope for is they try and get some new fans before they move to Vegas. Anybody else on the roster of Oakland that you, or wherever they play, that you would like to name? Any children that are up-and-coming prospects? Any single A?
You're making fun of me, and I don't like it. I've done my research. I know the team, and I'm being mocked for it.
I'm proud of you, but we don't got to hear about
There's some pieces you're going to like. You're the one that plays fantasy. You're going to like, and he's not a backup catcher. He's their starting catcher. You would like to know this because you're going to make moves, and you're going to look back on this podcast, and you're going to say, Sean mentioned him, and I'm glad I have him. So you're welcome in advance. I don't like being mocked for my knowledge.
Yeah, well, oh, sorry, man. I apologize.
Go talk to.
I just listen. I was like, he's gonna keep going with the roster.
Go talk to Flatherty. All right.
That was tough. The spelling's not even close. No. That was tough.
No.
I'm gonna wear that one though. I'm not gonna edit any of this out. I had a bad night with names. What do you want from me? All right, you and I both have Seattle at 85.5. I'm taking the under, and this is just out of pure anger for them never making moves and just sitting on their hands. Kirby is on the IL. I think I read till around, I guess, halfway through the season. And the players in their lineup just cannot stay healthy. Julio Rodriguez cannot stay healthy. Cal Raleigh cannot stay healthy. And they didn't go out and get any protection. I mean, I like that they're going to have a Rosarina for a full year. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think that this team has enough, and they didn't make any moves to get better.
I mean, all of that, dude, completely. They've had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They have Gilbert, they have Miller, they have Castillo, obviously Kirby. Now that he's hurt, that sucks. But it seems like every time they lose one, another one comes up. But they don't score any fucking runs. And Justin Turner, who had a decent year for them last year, called them out after he signed this offseason with the Cubs. And he was like, I don't understand. We weren't a playoff team because we couldn't score any runs. They didn't even make me an offer, and they never tried to add more bats. I mean, this team just doesn't score any fucking runs, no matter how good their pitching is. It's a damn shame that they're wasting all these guys, and that Cal Raleigh, they just gave a big extension to today, which is a nice move for them, but you're only paying your own guys. Where are the additions in a AL West that is no longer controlled by that dynasty that was the Houston Astros? So, it's, to use your terminology, and it's so perfect for this, shit or get off the pot. And they're happily just shitting because they don't do anything.
You can't sit. Yeah, you can't sit on that Castillo trade that you made 2 years ago and be like, "This is our big move." Like you got to add to that because like you said, it's like the Yankees when you're wasting Judge and Cole's prime. It's like you have so many horses. Seriously, all you got to do is score 4.1 runs
exactly,
and you probably win 100 games like easily because they don't have a shabby bullpen either. It's just like. They are completely sitting on their hands when it comes to their lineup. And, to use your boy Will's word, it's kind of disgusting if I'm a Seattle fan.
It's got to suck. I mean, yeah, you talked about their bullpen. You got Munoz throwing 103 miles an hour as your closer. Like, they have a lot of talent to win a lot of games. Like you said, can you score 4-point runs per average for me? Like, they're going to be bad again, and they're going to lose too many games simply 3-1, 4-2.
I know. There's gonna keep an eye on this. Whoever's gonna do this for me, tweet us at Sorry Sports. I want to know the team that got shut out the most this year because I might put my money on Seattle. Although
I don't think I can do that.
You gotta put it. No, you gotta take out the bottom.
Oh, what a hedge that is! Fucking.
That is such a bitch hedge. Well, I was saying, and then I was like, oh, wait, Chicago's still in the league.
Yeah, let me run you through some of the teams at the bottom of the National League, too.
I know. But seriously, like, they're going to average, like, 1.7 runs a game. And it would make me miserable as a fan.
Yeah, and I think what makes you the most miserable is regardless of what happens, it's like the ownership and the front office are clearly not making moves to make you better and capitalize on the opportunities that you have. And in sports, that's all you want. You want to say that we're going for it. If it fails epically, it fails epically. And they had a stretch there where they were very active, but it always seemed like it was coming from the pitching market and never from the offense. So, I think that we're just going to see more of the same. In a wasted year from one of the best staffs in baseball. Talk to me about Houston.
Houston. I had them at number 2, as do you. 86.5 wins. I'm taking their over. I like the top of the lineup. They let a few guys go, but it was basically just to get a playing time for a little bit more of their prospects. Can you explain to me why they traded Kyle Tucker? They just didn't want to sign him?
Yeah, they don't believe in giving deals 6 years plus. And with Kyle Tucker entering his prime, whether the Cubs lock him up to an extension or he hits free agency this coming winter, he's going to get a 7, 8, maybe 9-year deal. And they don't want to go that distance. They just never do. That's like Jim Crane's philosophy is like, we're not paying guys 6+ years. The only guys they've done that to is Altuve, who, by the way, is now playing left field. But yeah, that's why they didn't bring back Tucker, or that's why they traded Tucker, because they were never going to get more value for him.
Just get the value.
And speaking of, you got Isaac Paredes, who's going to wear out the Crawford boxes out there in left field. Did you know that he has the most pull home runs for a right-handed batter in the major leagues over the last 2 years? That's a really good place to hit, other than in addition to Fenway, if you're going to do that. And Cam Smith, the top third baseman prospect that they got from the Chicago Cubs in this trade, made the opening day roster. I feel like they deserve the benefit of the doubt. They know what they're doing, but it was still an interesting offseason.
I agree with you. Only thing I have to add to that is I do like their rotation. All their guys, well, Blanco and a few others seem to pitch late into games, and then if Hunter Brown can just be more consistent
and healthy
this season, that too, obviously. But he's got he'll have 2 or 3 good starts, and then he'll have a stinker in there even when he is healthy. And it's like, dude, if you put it all together, you could be a top 3 Cy Young candidate.
Oh, yeah. I think there was that side-by-side when he first came up, when Verlander was still there, where their mechanics were almost exactly the same. And I was like, oh, fuck, they got another one. Valdez is still a stud. I don't know if they'll lock him up long-term, but, he's obviously still the ace of the staff. I'm not a big fan of Arrighetti. I'm not a big fan of where Lance McCullers is. He actually made his first appearance in 2.5 years the other day in spring training.
Yeah, he's toast.
Right. Christian Javier has had times where he's been absolutely awesome, but that was also 2022, 2023. So I think their rotation, the top end of that rotation could be really good. The end of that rotation is not all that good. But the lineup's interesting. Jeremy Pena, man, They really need him to be what he was his rookie year. Remember, he won ALCS MVP in that 2022 ALCS against the Yankees, and it was like, oh my God, they have the perfect replacement for Correa, and he hasn't turned out to be what they want. I did really like the Christian Walker signing because it's kind of been a black hole at first base for them, and they gave him a 4-year deal. You still got Alvarez. I like Jake Myers, and like I said, Paredes is gonna perform pretty well for them. They're not what they used to be, but you can never count them out.
No, you cannot count them out, and they are just one of those teams where I just get scared when I see them on the schedule. And Alvarez, I mean, you saying they still got Alvarez. I feel like we got to give the guy a little more respect than that. His odds for MVP are top 3.
Well, no, that's what I mean. They still have him, so even though you lost Tucker, you can still pencil 35 home runs and 100-plus RBIs in with Alvarez.
I just don't want any beef with Yordan Alvarez, okay?
Well, listen, you don't have to get on me. I'm saying everything else. I don't like Alvarez when he faces the Yankees, but no, that guy's a fucking stud. They still have him. They didn't trade him away.
They did not. All right, number 1 team for us coming out of the West, both of us, Texas Rangers. 86.5 wins. I'm going to take the over on that. Listen, I'm going to lead with Jacob deGrom. I'm not going to speculate on whether or not he's going to be healthy. I'm just going to say this. I hope he is. Wyatt Langford, he's going 30-30 this year. You heard it here first. Maybe not first, but I think he's going 30-30 this year. Simeon and Seager, I think that they're due for big years. They're both still young enough, and they're both still healthy enough. And this team, for me, they lost Lowe, who was a Gold Glove player at first base, and they replaced him with Berger, who's more of an offensive guy. But outside of that, I think that they are going to be really, really good defensive metric-wise, and this team can rake. And I do like their starting pitching. I mean, obviously, DeGrom, we don't have to go into too much detail about that. It's just for him a matter of whether he can stay healthy. Evaldi's older, but he's got a fucking rubber arm. Mihail's another guy that we need to stay healthy. And then you got the Vandy boys, bro. Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter.
Both made the opening day roster, too.
With Bradford getting shut down.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting to see them pitch. Obviously, they have a lot of stock in those guys. I do really like Evaldi coming back. I know he wasn't as reliable as he's been in the past last year, but he's still an excellent arm. A lot of teams wanted him. He was happy to return to Texas. Tyler Mahle, like you said, that's just he's just a solid starter in the major leagues. And I think that's what they need. They have all these boomer bust type guys. I think you need somebody who's going to slide in and just give you 25 starts, low 4 ERA, and keep you competitive. You know what you're getting with him. When you look at the bullpen, Chris Martin is back. They bring in Luke Jackson, who obviously used to be really good with the Braves. So their bullpen is a little scary for me. We'll see what they end up doing. The lineup, obviously, too. I mean, we mentioned mentioned that lineup, and we didn't even mention Odalis Garcia, who's going to give you 25, 30 home runs. They brought in Jock Peterson, too. So you got some DH coming from him. He's going to hit tanks.
Yep.
Josh Smith. I mean, Evan Carter, dude, it isn't even making the opening day roster for Bruce Bochy, which is crazy given the promise that he had after that playoff run in 2023. You mentioned Jake Berger. I love that addition for them. But Langford, is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Jonah Heim is due for another year. Yeah, this team though, I will say this. They have like the highest floor or highest ceiling and lowest floor, I think, in the American League. Like if you told me this team won 95 games and won the World Series, I'd be like, that makes sense. If you told me they won 75 games and finished like third in this division and way out of the playoffs, I'd believe that too.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I don't really think it's going out on a limb because I've seen it around a lot, and this division is weaker, but they're a team that there's a lot of ifs on this team, much like the Yankees, where if this happens, they could go to the World Series. If this happens, they could, finish fourth.
Right, and the high-end talent is there. This is a team that, even though it felt fluky at the time, they did win the World Series. Now, you don't have Montgomery anymore. There's some key pieces from that team, but this is still a team that basically slugged their way to a World Series, and some of those guys are due for bounce-back years after a 2024 that was kind of If they get vintage Jacob deGrom, watch out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't even talk about that. All right, let's recap our playoffs. We'll go over our seedings, and then we'll give you an ALCS who's going to the World Series, and then go over some awards. So give me your playoffs 6-1, 3 wild cards, 3 divisions.
Yeah, so I have the Tigers as my first wild card. I just think there's a lot of winnable games in the Central. I then have the Astros. I then have the Yankees. I think the Yankees, they just play in the toughest division, but they will sneak in. I have the Rangers. I have the Rangers winning the West. I have the Royals winning the Central, and I have the Red Sox winning the East.
Yeah, so I got KC, Houston, Yankees in the wild card slot. I got the Guardians, Rangers, and Red Sox winning their divisions. All right, so who do you have going to the AL Championship Series?
I hate doing this. I really do. It pisses me off. And I don't even feel good about this pick. I think that's what's crazy about the AL in all seriousness, dude. Like, I want to get your thoughts on it too. Like, after you make your pick, I'll give you my pick. But I have Red Sox Rangers. I think if the Red Sox win the East, that's very favorable for them. We just talked about the Rangers' potential ceiling. I just don't feel great about any of these teams. Like, I look at like 5 or 6 of these teams, and if you told me they were playing in the World Series, I'd be like, okay. Like, that's not that crazy. But because it's just not a very good league.
I felt the exact same way when I was putting together my preview, where it was just like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think the Red Sox or the Yankees or the Rangers are mediocre. I feel like that would be disrespectful, but there's no teams that are great here. There's no Dodgers here or Atlanta of a few years ago or the Golden State Warriors or whomever.
Yeah, there's no dominant team.
Just like, exactly. There's no team where it's like, holy shit. It feels like there's 2 or 3 of those in the NL. And over here, there's really not. And, it could go chalky, but this season could also lead to something where we have no idea what the hell is going on, just because the mediocre teams are bunched much closer together with the teams that are good to really good.
I think that prospects this year for the teams that are rich in them are going to play significant roles, maybe coming up through the system and contributing to a team that goes on a run like the Tigers had last year and like the Royals have had. But I also think, too, the teams that are the most rich with prospects are going to trade from that surplus. Like the Red Sox scare the shit out of me because I think that they could be like a Dylan Cease team or a Michael King team or a Sandy Alcantara team because
we just got to hope that we're one of those 3 teams.
Well, and that's why I talked about on the Yankee preview, like it's such a big year for the Yankees minor league system because if you guys didn't hear that part of the pod, the Yankees were very interested in Garrett Crochet, not only this offseason in addition to signing Fried, but last summer they really wanted him. And the White Sox told them point blank, you're not even close with what some of these other teams can offer. And the Red Sox system, even trading from that surplus to go get Crochet, is still fucking loaded. We talked about the guys at the top, but they are rich throughout the end.
They could make a giant... Yeah, they could make another trade and still probably be tied with the
And
Yankees.
Baltimore,
they've really tooled up.
Yeah, and Baltimore has all those guys I mentioned. Are all those guys going to be part of your future? Could you go get a mega superstar in the rotation if you consolidated Kjerstad and Kauser and Westberg? Like I said, Mayo isn't even starting the season in the major leagues. You got plenty of guys that they could go after, and I think that's why it's so interesting. I don't think we're going to have a real feel for the American League till we get to the end of the regular season, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, not at all, man. It's a good thing as a Yankees fan, though, because it does give you hope. Because if there was some stronger teams in this league, those 2 injuries would have sent us down a lot.
By the way, Tom, you called it perfectly right. All those question marks with the Yankees, if even 75-80% of those hit, if you said the Yankees won 93 games and Max Fried was a Cy Young candidate and they won the East by 3 or 4 games because these other teams didn't do what they were supposed to do or their question marks didn't hit, that wouldn't be a surprise. If we're talking here with the Yankees as the number 1 seed in the American League this year, none of us would be like, wow, how did that happen? The possibility is there. It's just there's too many questions.
No, honestly, dude, the one surprise for me would be if you told me and pick a team. Said team wins 103 games.
Oh yeah, that's not
even
happening.
100. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I'd be shocked if that because there's no top end talent. All right, let's move on. You picked what? Rangers Red Sox.
I picked Rangers Red Sox
to go to the ALCS. I did not make my pick yet. I have Rangers Yankees. I had to make one little hope pick in here. Yeah. Thank
I love
you.
it.
Let me take a bow. Thank you. I don't even believe in it, but again, like you said, the talent gap is just not big for me, and I just hope that the Yankees can get hot enough. For my World Series pick, I don't know if you gave yours yet, but I'll go ahead and give mine. I got the Texas Rangers moving on. Are the people just going to have to snore through this podcast? Are we chalk again?
No, I have the Red Sox going to the World Series.
I don't know. That sucks. I would have rather.
Yeah, it sucks. It definitely sucks. I think that they're going to make one of my bold predictions in the American League. We didn't put this in the notes for this. I'm just going off the cuff here. One of my bold predictions is that the Red Sox land either Michael King, Dylan Cease, or Sandy Alcantara at the deadline.
Hey, listen, we didn't have to put in the notes. I gave a 30-30 Wyatt Langford, and you gave that. So those are our two bold predictions for you, everybody. You're welcome.
You're very welcome. You want to hand out some awards?
Let's hand out some awards. So I picked the Cy Young MVP and Rookie of the Year, as we always do, so I'll rattle those off. I will start with my MVP. If he stays healthy, he's going to do it again. Aaron Judge.
It's a great pick. It almost feels blasphemous not to pick him. He's not going to have the support.
It's kind of why I picked him.
Honestly, bro, it's a great pick. And there's certain picks that you don't need to be the smartest guy in the room or try to be. That's just a great pick. Aaron Judge is probably favored in a lot of betting places to win American League MVP. My only fear with him is there's going to be so many times, particularly if Bellinger doesn't get off to a hot start, where he's just not going to be pitched to. No one's
going to get a
walk. No one's going to pitch to him. He might have one of the best OBP seasons of all time, but
Barry Bonds type
but
shit.
At 38 home runs instead of 58 home runs, or 102 RBIs instead of 145. That's my only concern with him. I do love that he's going back to right field. My MVP is the guy that finished runner-up last year, and that's Bobby Witt. I think he's going to be the major reason why the Royals win the American League Central, in my opinion. He's got everything. He would have won the MVP in most years last year if Aaron Judge didn't have one of the greatest seasons literally of all time. I think it's his time, and I think he's going to win it.
I like that pick. He was sitting right there for me, but I had a feeling you weren't going to take Judge, and I wanted to show Judge some love on this pod. Number 2, Cy Young for me. I think you took him last year, actually, Cole Reagans.
Yeah, I love that pick. I can't remember if I took him last year or not.
I'm pretty sure you did.
No, you know who I took last year? I took George Kirby last year.
You might.
Yeah, I definitely didn't take Reagans.
Okay.
I liked Reagans, but there was no way I was going to step out on the limb. Because remember, when they got him last year, he was only going into his first year as a starter because they got him in the Chapman trade. With Texas, so in the year before the deadline. So, no, I remember taking George Kirby last year. I'm taking Garrett Crochet this year. I hate how much Red Sox love I'm giving, but I think he's going to have
Jesus Christ.
He's going to have an unfucking believable year. It was between him. It was between him and Skubal again, but I'm going to go with Crochet.
God, I hope you're wrong, and I know you do too. Anticlimactic ending here, as we've already said it. Jackson Jobe is our Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you are. You didn't add an extra syllable to it, you didn't go Jobe or something.
Good for me.
I like it. Good job.
Good for me, man. Good
I'm
stuff.
proud of you.
Way to
Who
finish
else
off
is in that rotation
on a
with
high
him?
note. Jack Flaherty.
Yeah.
And Jack Flaherty.
That's it. I think it's the latter. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, everybody, we're going to be coming back at you guys with NL awards and our eventual World Series winner. So, talking to you guys soon.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one.